Service your existing car with us right now,
And it's worth £500 off your next car.
yes, at Macklin Motors Toyota, we'll give you a £500 voucher off any of our brand new Toyotas when you book in for a service with our expert Toyota trained technicians.
We even have complimentary courtesy cars available, so book your service now and get £500 off any new Toyota.
Visit macklinmotors.co.uk or see us at Kennishead Road, Darnley.
Macklin Motors, the new name for Toyota sales and servicing in Glasgow.
Valid on services till 30th September. Excludes Motability and fleet customers. One £500 voucher per vehicle purchased by 31st December.
The Go Radio Football Show with MacklinMotors.com, representing some of the biggest motoring manufacturers across Scotland.
Let's go!
So in the first hour, we were looking back at last night. Rangers losing 2-0 in Belgium. Barry says it could have been worse, though. That's the scoreline that they can overturn. And you reckon, Barry, they will on Tuesday, 50,000 Ibrox?
Yeah, I'm still fully confident in the squad that Gio's got. There's still a lot of quality. Listen, it was as I said earlier on in the programme, it was a bad night at the office. Look, we've all had them. And Rangers, I'll come back, really disappointed in the performance. But listen, they're still in a tie. It's only 2-0. You're back at Ibrox, 50,000 Rangers fans roaring them on. I still believe that they will go through into play either PSV or Monaco.
And the word on the wires is that Alfredo Morelos could well return to play next Tuesday night, but he would have to play first of all, you'd think, Peter, wouldn't you, this weekend, at least make an appearance against Killie?
I think he would have to play some minutes, but you know what the managers like. Managers probably like putting him on the bench, maybe even in the Killie game, bring him on for a period of time. And you know, the Belgian team will be looking at him and think, if he's playing, it makes a difference to them, his performances in Europe last year. You know, I'm critical of him. I'd never think he is fit, and unfortunately he's been out for a long time this time, you know, but it seems to be settling down a bit, and they're talking about giving him a new contract. So the manager's obviously seen something in his work ethic. He's trying to get back fit. So if he's worked as hard as that and he's going to be available for it, people always say try and pick your best players for the big games, and if he's one of Rangers' best strikers, there's absolutely no doubt of that. He needs to be playing in the big games, but whether he's fit enough is a different question.
But certainly when I bumped into Gio and Roy Mackay at the Legends game in March, I was saying to them, listen, I've seen a difference in Morelos and big Roy Mackay. I says on air, didn't I, at the time?
Did? Yep.
He says he stripped 5 kilos. You could see the difference in him. You
Absolutely.
could see the difference.
Absolutely.
In him, he was fitter, he could get about the pitch better.
But who's to blame for that, Baz? You know yourself as a player. You always looked after yourself. That's what's my biggest criticism in being, is because I didn't ever think he was fit enough. I think he kept, every summer he was talking about him leaving, all these sort of stuff, and that was my biggest criticism for him. And then he would let them down on a Saturday, one through frustration because he wasn't fit enough. Then he'd get into these silly fights when Rangers were on big games, and you would lose him with a silly red card. You know, so I think the player's got to look at himself, and if the manager and that's managed to do that, I've obviously managed them different from the previous manager, you know, but he's got to look at himself, and he owes Rangers. I think that, and he's got to remember, and I've kept saying it, he's got to remember it's Rangers Football Club he's playing for. He's a very lucky boy, so he's got to give them something back, and what a fantastic time to come back and give them that, if that was next Tuesday night for
I
them.
get that. He's been really good for Rangers, but Rangers has also given
Absolutely.
him the platform to go
Absolutely.
and play. But as a person, an individual, surely he would have felt the difference.
Okay, for 100%.
Strip him a wee bit of weight, and for me, he did look a totally different player under Gio. In the way that Gio plays, you've got to have high energy, you've got to get about the pitch, and certainly that difference that they made in him in that period of time that he was fit, I thought it was night and day.
Some start to the season, isn't it? We've been looking forward to it. We'd love to see both of them in Europe at the same time. Would you, Peter, like to see, you know, honestly, Celtic and Rangers in the Champions League?
100%. But listen, you see what happened last year. It was fantastic. You know, it was nip and tuck for the league for a period of time. Then Celtic went in command. You know, then the cup competitions, you know, were great. Rangers doing fantastically well in Europe, and it was getting beamed all over how well they'd done. And very unfortunate not to win it, because I thought, as I keep saying, I thought they were the better team on the evening, and I'd have loved it if they'd have won the competition. You know, great, because it's Scottish football, and you know you're selling the big players for the right money. Then you know you're getting better players want to come and play in Scotland, which we all want to see. Well, none better turning up to games to watch top quality players playing. You know, you'd rather Champions League every week playing that type of quality of player, and also it means you can hold on to the likes of Jota and all these sort of guys because you're being successful. You know, and that's what gives you the money, and that's what Rangers are looking to try and do next week, to hold on to these top players.
Good news for the
That's what
Rangers
you want,
fans.
but
Yep.
you want both clubs in the Champions League. Like, obviously, I'm Rangers, Peter Celtic, but it's great for the international team as well. You've got McGregor and you've got Turnbull, you've got
Absolutely.
Taylor, you've got Ryan Jack, John McLaughlin at Rangers. It's brilliant experience playing in the Champions League, and also it's brilliant. It gets your game on the map. People start thinking, oh,
Yeah.
Rangers and Celtic, or you go back in the Champions League, because they tour. They should be in the Champions League,
Of course.
every single season.
Absolutely, that's attraction you get, and that's what you can sell, because that's what players say they leave for, because they want to play in the Champions League. If you're in the Champions League as a club, you get the supporters that both these clubs or Glasgow clubs have got, stadiums that they've got. There's no better places to play.
They think last year at Ibrox Thursday night Europa League was brilliant. It was, but wait till you sample the Tuesday or the Wednesday night with that music playing.
The old Zadok the Priest, you love that. It's a great tune, isn't it?
Yeah,
That you haven't heard for. It's been too long since we heard it at Celtic or Rangers, so we're going to hear it at Celtic, and hopefully, Barry, we hear it at Rangers as well. Good news for Rangers: Ryan Kent is going to play. He's going to be fit for Tuesday. That's
Yeah, it was a bit of a worry seeing him limp off towards the end at the Livingston game. But even when he's off the boil, Ryan Kent, it's similar to like Jota, when they're not playing at their top level, they can still do that wee bit of magic. They can still beat a player, set a goal up, or score a
Well,
goal.
the opposition are
themselves.
delighted, aren't they? If they don't see them
Oh,
on, the opposition, if they don't see them on the team sheet, they're
Both of
more
them
than
are
happy.
match winners. Both of them are such big players for both of the clubs.
Here's Craig on the line, big Rangers fan. Craig, good evening.
Evening, Paul. Evening, gents. How you doing?
Even Craig.
Good. We know what went wrong last night. Craig, do you agree with Barry that your team will turn it round on Tuesday?
Listen, I think we can. I think with the fans behind us at Ibrox, absolutely, we're capable of special things, and we proved that last season. But we're going to have to come out the traps flying. We're going to have to come out, go for them. We can't have, whether it's a change of tactics for Giovanni, I don't know, because we can't be that negative at Ibrox. So, I think we can get through. But my concern is, even if we do, what I seen last night isn't an isolated incident. For over the past year and a half, our performances away from home in Europe actually haven't been that good. Now, last season, obviously, we got to the Europa League final, so it's not something you'll really be talking about, because in a grand scale, over the two legs, we won the games. But with the exception of Borussia Dortmund, we actually lost the rest of the games away from home. In the group stages away from home, it was we got the draw away to Lyon, so again, it's not been great performances away from home. And when you're in the Champions League, you have to put in decent performances away as well, because it's great at Ibrox. We all know that. But my concern is it's a different squad of players, slightly different squad of players, but the same issue, that we just can't raise that to that level often enough in an away day in Europe. And certainly, I think that it's fair to say that realistically the Livingston game wasn't much better performance-wise either. So,
Barry, what would you say to Craig?
Well, in the qualification games in the Champions League, it's so important to get a decent away result, whether that's a draw coming back to Ibrox. But when you're in the actual group stages, you're coming up against the elite, you're coming up against the top teams. It's really difficult to win away from home. I've been in it enough times to realise that at home, in the group stages, listen, you could take anybody at home, both Rangers and Celtic, but away from home it's a different story. But in the qualification games, I was expecting better last night from Rangers. I was very surprised, as I said at the start of the show, very surprised after watching Gio's team since he's come in, the way that they play, the way that they go about their business, watching them pre-season, the West Ham game, the Tottenham game, obviously the Livingston game, they were a bit off in the first 45, but Craig, you've got to agree, the second half I thought they were different. I thought they came out the traps a lot better, but last night I was really surprised. But I don't think you'll see that again. I've got to be honest with you. I think Gio will be on at them. They'll be sitting down, they'll be having a chat amongst each other, and they'll know as professional football players they've got to produce better if they want to be in the group stages of the Champions League.
It's so difficult, to win games away from home. That's for sure. There's no doubt of that. And I think you'll settle for the same results as last year, hardly winning away from home, getting the performances and the results you got at home. You would go for that now, you would take that on. But it is very, very difficult. We go back to about the start of the season, how difficult it is to these games to be players to be up to speed and playing at their best of their capabilities. It's so difficult. Once you've got momentum, and Rangers proved that last year, even the Europa Cup, once you get into that momentum, the players were playing, they were all desperate to play, everybody was fit, you know, and you need your best players available. There's no getting away from that. You need your best players, your match winners to be fit. And unfortunately for Rangers last night, they never had their best players available. You know, your Kents and that's of this world, the match winners, the guys that played in the big games that you're talking about, Dortmund and that, and produced majestic performances, and probably his best performance, had all-round performance, I would say, in the Rangers jersey in Dortmund. You know, that's what I thought. And it taken a performance like that to go and beat the Dortmund side. You know, people can say Dortmund didn't play particularly well, but Rangers were excellent on the night, and Kent was world class on the evening, both in and out of possession.
Craig, what's your team for Tuesday night then? What are the major changes you would make for the game?
Well, I think Kent obviously has to come straight back into the squad. I think you know, he does get a hard time sometimes, Kent, but we miss him when he's not there. I'd love to see Morelos back in. I think Cholak, you know, he's just finding his feet, but it's 2 games in a row that he's played in, and he's been pretty much anonymous. You know, the Livingston game was the same. He got the goal that was chopped off, but apart from that, wasn't involved in the play much. And last night was the same. Don't get me wrong, he was starved of real quality service last night, but Morelos is the kind of player, he's a battering ram through defences, so he'll find bits of, you know, wee pockets of space that maybe Cholak isn't quite getting yet.
Where else would you change?
I would probably change the defence slightly as well. I'd have liked, ideally, Barisic in there. I think Yilmaz, that's an awfully big ask for him to come in his first game in a Rangers jersey as a sub last night as well. I think Davies again, it's tough because right now the centre back position sort of didn't have a great performance on Sunday, so I can completely understand why Giovanni Van Bronckhorst's thinking, well, I'll maybe change it. And I definitely would bring McGregor in. You know, I like McLaughlin, but that was a shocker last night, that first goal. McGregor saves that all day long. It takes a deflection, but he has to save that. It's almost straight at him. It's not a great shot. And I hate to be overly critical of him because he'd had good performances last season as well. But he's, you know, that's a shocker. He's got to be better. And I think Gio's got to make a decision now. Is McLaughlin going to be number one or is it McGregor? We can't have this to and fro. It's not helping any of them either.
Barry, what about those changes?
This is a game, I don't know if Peter will agree with me, this is a game you need a bit of experience, a bit of know-how, guys who have been round the block. So don't be surprised if guys like Stevie Davis, Scotty Arfield come into the fray, because this is squeaky, no, I wouldn't say squeaky bum time, but this is pressure. This is a pressure cooker. Rangers need to make sure they get into that next qualification game against either PSV or Monaco. So don't be surprised if Gio goes back to the experience, the guys who have been about, who know the way about the pitch, who are used to pressures, where some of the guys are new in and they're probably getting used to the demands and the expectations of Rangers. So don't be surprised if there's a few changes. And even Saturday, don't forget there's an important league game before the game next Tuesday. But I would bring in a few changes. I would make a few changes.
Would you play Barisic? Yilmaz obviously is new.
Well, he impressed me. I've got to be honest with you. I know it was only 20 or so minutes last night, but he looked very positive last night when he came on. I don't know if Craig agrees with me. I know Peter never watched the game, but he did. He looked positive. He's only a young kid as well. You've got to remember that. He's 21, 22. Yes, yeah. Barisic has been about the block. But in terms of the team, don't be surprised if your experienced heads come in who know the game inside out, like say your Stephen Davis.
That was your European game. He's talking about experienced heads. He was a young man. He could go and play in front of the Rangers fans and play well.
Yep, I had brilliant experience round about.
But that's what I was going to say. So if you bring the likes of Davis and that back in, you can play a Yilmaz. Because there's no doubt he's got the quality. The things I've seen, the clips I've seen of him, he's got that quality, but he needs that help. And that's what I was making the point last night about Barisic and Sands together. Even though I've never seen the game, it doesn't seem the ideal balance. You know, that for me, just looking at it from afar, when you look at the team, As Gio looked at it and said maybe it's John Shooter, Golston, Davis, and they're all fit. Is that the way he was going to be his back three? But he wasn't allowed to do that last night because John wasn't available. And Davis is maybe not up to speed. So he's probably not got his strongest team out, what he thinks is away there, because it could have let big John Lundstrom stay in the middle of the pitch and gives you that power. But likes of Steve Davis and Scott Arfield, I think Scott Arfield shows on Saturday, but he does exceptionally well.
His movement was brilliant, wasn't it?
We've said that
He's
all.
a clever football
absolutely. He always has been. He always has been. He's fantastic at running in the box, and it's very, very difficult to mark. But in these big games, you've got to have people who've handled the occasion or can handle the occasion. It doesn't matter their age. You know, if Barisic is not playing well enough, he doesn't deserve to be in the team. Whether he's the most experienced, better than Yilmaz or no. If Yilmaz is better than him, play him. I don't care if he's 21, because people, Rangers fans that I speak to, say he's not played well since the Celtic game at Celtic Park. You know, and he's never performed as well since then. So fair enough, you bought somebody at £3 or £4 million. He's fit and ready. Let's go.
Davis will come in. He'll play on Saturday. He'll make sure he'll get 90 minutes and ready to go. And
Stephen Davis. Or Ben Davies.
Ben Davies.
Both of them.
Ben Davis.
Right.
He's come up. He come on last night. Listen, you pay £3 million. I know it rises to £4 million, but you don't shell out that kind of money to come up and sit on the bench.
So he'll play Saturday.
Yeah, he'll play. He gives you that balance as well. Peter will tell you it's so hard to get a left-sided centre back. We had Bassey last year, who was phenomenal, whether that was left back or left centre back. But to have that balance, and I felt a wee bit for Sands last night. I've got to be honest with you. It's not his natural position. As I said, he was getting the ball and he was cutting back inside. But Davis has got to play. Ben Davis, that is.
Sure. Yeah,
and that helps.
Tavernier, Goldson, Davies, and Yilmaz. Are you going to go for him?
Yep.
I
think he'll make a few changes. Yep, no doubt. And don't be surprised if Stephen Davis and Scott Arfield come on Saturday and change the game for Rangers. He did change the game for Rangers.
Craig,
Scott Arfield.
You feeling a bit more optimistic?
Oh, listen, definitely. I think you've got to be optimistic. I believe we can do it, and hopefully, we can get past this. Well, then looking at a tougher tie again. So, the capability is there. They just have to go out there and want it, really. Also, if I could just make a very quick point about VAR. We were poor last night, and VAR can't detract from that. But I think that the decision last night for that penalty shows exactly that even when we get it in up here, it isn't going to be the silver bullet to everything. There's still going to be bad decisions, because number one, I don't get why it's a penalty, because it comes off Sands then hits Goldson. Number two, how the referee even books Connor Goldson. He cannot possibly think that's a deliberate handball.
Sure.
Maybe Goldson said something, but I never seen that on the television.
No, he looked respectful, didn't he? When he went over
did.
to look at VAR?
Do you know what I was thinking? Is he booked him because he's went over to look at the screen? Because you see Connor Goldson coming into the picture, but he's been a good 10 yards away. But he couldn't have booked him for handball. But that decision,
well, that's always my question. But
decision.
Have you got talking about Celtic Rangers? Imagine that's a Celtic Rangers game. You know what I mean? So where's it? You know what I mean? That's the problem I've got with all round. Because where are they going? I keep saying it. Is going to be sitting in the moon?
I'm just about to say, see down in England, they go when it's a live game.
They tell him where he's sitting.
You could not say that.
No,
at a Rangers Celtic game, because he would have about 10,000 people waiting outside on him.
And Craig, breaking news. I mean, it's not massive, but it is interesting. Rangers will hope to be part of it for Celtic, and for those in the Champions League, there's going to be artificial intelligence deciding on the offside. So it's almost like the Hawkeye. That's breaking news from UEFA this afternoon. We thought it was coming in time for the World Cup in Qatar. It was trialled in the Club World Cup in February, and it's coming in for the Champions League. So that's just come out this afternoon. Artificial intelligence will decide whether or not,
I don't know.
You're offside. Who knows, eh? Listen, more coming. Craig, thanks for calling. Speak to you soon.
Cheers, Craig.
The Go Radio Football Show with MacklinMotors.com, representing some of the biggest motoring manufacturers across Scotland.
Let's go!
So we've teamed up with our friends at Clyde Built Home Improvements, giving you a chance to win £250 every Friday here on the Go Radio Football Show. All you have to do is predict this weekend's Scottish Premiership results. Michael was on the show on Friday. His predictions didn't quite go to plan. He got 2 out of the 6. So we're rolling over this extra £150 into this weekend's games. That means that you could get £100. Well, you will get if you're the person coming on, just for coming on Friday. And also a £300 jackpot. All you have to do is guess the 6 results. Win, lose or draw. We don't need the actual scoreline. All you do now, register online at thisisgo.co.uk, and that's your chance to join us predicting the scores this Friday. Barry, you'll be in the hot seat along with Mark Guidi on a Friday. You were pretty good last season. Your predictions.
Well, I don't know if I'll be as good this season.
Apart from your overall prediction for who would win the title, but you
there you go. There's that usual one.
No, but you pretty good record. Michael got
Yep,
2.
if I was a gambling man, I would have done all right. But it's something that's never interested.
Oh, I'm the same. I'm the same.
The what?
Gambling.
Oh no, of course. This is not gambling. This is only it's just
No,
a
I know,
chance.
but I'm just saying because I was
know,
getting
it's good.
results right last year.
Of course, no, you were good. Big John was on last night as well, and I know he talks about it, about the dangers of gambling. But that's a whole other discussion. The games this weekend on Saturday: Aberdeen St Mirren. There's something in every one of these games, isn't there? Motherwell, who's going to be the new manager against St Johnstone. Rangers, Kilmarnock, Ross County, Celtic, and then Sunday, Hibs against Hearts, the derby, and the 2 big keepers, 2 of Scotland's great keepers, David Marshall up against Craig Gordon, and then Dundee United against Livy. And Dundee United in action tomorrow night against AZ Alkmaar. More than decent team. They played Celtic just last year, didn't they?
A good side.
Yeah.
All the Dutch sides are all good. They're all good football sides with good players, good quality.
And of course, one of your friends that's there, one of your ex-colleagues is at AZ Alkmaar. He's one of the advisors, Arthur Newman, isn't he?
He's our chief scout, European scout. So I'm sure Arthur would have had a couple of nights up in Dundee watching Dundee United play. He's a brilliant guy. Listen, one of the best players I've played with. Top player, top guy, top professional. I've got to be honest with you, learnt so much off him when I was a younger player at Rangers. He was my roomie. He was my roommate. Used to look after me, make sure I got to bed in time.
He used to come down to London and see us as well. I used to go out with him in London as well. He was a fantastic boy, you know. We went out to see him in Holland a few times to take in a few games because he obviously knew the scene, got you in easily, you know, because he's a hero over there, but a top quality guy as well as a player.
And I tell you what, he helped lots of charities here in Scotland, the St Andrews Hospice.
He's a fantastic man, never mind footballer, you know.
I couldn't believe when he retired at 33.
Why did he go?
I honestly don't know. Do you know, I've never asked him when I've been in his company hundreds of times.
Probably wanted to go on more holidays.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, he loved a sunbed, Arthur. But to retire at 33, far too young. He's just a phenomenal player.
Jamie McGrath, he's joined Dundee United on loan from Wigan. Decent signing for Dundee United. Do you like the way that Jack Ross is getting a decent squad there?
Yeah, I think he's building good experience. You know, Stephen Fletcher in there now, I think it's a terrific signing for him if he stays fit. You know, you've got Charlie Mulgrew there at the back, so both ends of the field. You've got young Levitt come in and done exceptionally well last year for them. He's come up from Manchester United fully now, so looks as if they're getting a squad together there. I'm surprised that Aberdeen didn't look at what do you call him?
Dylan Levitt?
No,
McGrath.
Oh, McGrath. Sorry, of course,
because
with the
their chairman came out and
association.
said something, didn't he? The chairman came out and said something which was quite strange there, as if something about the loan fee and whatever. So I was quite surprised he didn't end up there with Jim, because I know Jim's a big supporter of his.
I'm surprised McGrath went down and struggled at Wigan. I was looking at that when that signing came through. They only featured 4 times for Wigan in that 6-month period.
Strange, isn't it?
Because he was a good player up here, and listen, I think Dundee United certainly they're backing the manager up there, and they could have another good season this year.
Let's go back on the lines. 0808 17 17 700. Paul Cooney with Barry Ferguson, Peter Grant, and also with Barry from Paisley. Hi, Barry.
Hi guys, how you doing?
Hi, Barry.
Good.
How you doing?
Yeah, sorry to keep you waiting there. So, Barry, are you over was it a bit of a shock last night, the performance?
The performance was a shock, I think, but perhaps not the result. I mean, I didn't know too much about the team, but I could see that last season they'd done pretty well within the league. So I was thinking last night was going to be difficult, and just the fact we seem to struggle, with the Champions League qualifying matches just so early on in the campaign. We seem to really struggle getting out the blocks. You know, it seems to take us 5, 6, 7 games to get going in a season at the moment, and I think that's the main reason why we are struggling in these Champions League qualification matches, because we start the campaign so slow.
I think that's a fair point, because I think you look at some of the teams that do well at the start are the teams that predominantly don't lose a lot of players. You know, so there's not much of a rebuild to come when you're trying to get players to fit into a certain style or whatever. They know the style, it's just trying to get that match fitness up, and a lot of the players stay together. And you look at the successful teams, you look at the big teams, they're always at the big teams because they never lose their players. You know, so the manager goes in there and that continues on all the time, and that goes in even to the training and the preparation. Where Gio and that's lose players late on or whatever, and then you've got to replace them, and then you've got some of the boys not fit enough yet, obviously because they're not up to speed, because obviously Ben Davis has not played many games, and you'd be expecting him to be a starter, you know, and unfortunately lost John Souttar as well, so they'd be expecting to be starters at Rangers, you know, I feel, and I think that's why you'll see the other teams that keep their groups together, they're the ones that probably have better starts in these competitions.
Barry, what do you feel?
I'm surprised that they were really flat and lethargic last night, for the simple fact as I looked at Rangers pre-season when it came out. They went away to obviously Portugal, they played Sunderland, I know it got abandoned, right, but it's still 45 minutes. They played Blackpool, Championship team, they played West Ham, done brilliantly last year in the Premier League, played Tottenham, and then and amongst that, with the guys that weren't playing maybe 60 or 70 minutes, who only played 20 minutes, they were having bounce games at Murray Park against Queen's Park and a couple of other teams. So I think his pre-season was all geared on this first Champions League qualifying. I know they had Livingston on Saturday, so that's why I was pretty surprised at how flat I just couldn't believe. I don't know, Barry, it was really flat last night, Barry, and that's the thing that shocked me. Certainly when I've watched Gio's teams since Gio's come in and took the job, one thing about them, there've been real energy about this Rangers team. If you can play a couple of ways. If they sit back, they hit very fast in the counter attack. You've seen that in the West Ham game. I thought from middle to front they were excellent. So it was a real surprise, that performance last night, and it took me back a wee bit. I was a wee bit taken aback with it, should I say, because I fully expected Rangers to go over there. I'm not saying they should went over there and won easily or convincingly. Union SG are a good team. We get sent into the group chat. It's a brilliant story. 40 years in the lower.
You took the half hour to read it. It was a great article from The Athletic.
Brilliant article. They get promoted last year and obviously had a fantastic season. So you know you're going in to play a team that's competed against your Bruges, your Anderlecht, your Genks, international known teams. So I was just surprised last night. I just think it's an off night, hopefully, but we'll see come Saturday.
Barry, what are the changes you want to see? Ryan Kent is fit.
Well, I think the main change for me, I was astonished that Alan McGregor wasn't in goals last night. I thought that he'd been left out. Well, I thought in my mind the only reason that he could have been left out from the first game of the league campaign was because we were playing this European match a little bit earlier in the week. So I thought Gio was maybe just thinking, let McLaughlin start the league game. McGregor will definitely play the European game. So I was astonished with McGregor being left out. So he would absolutely be probably the first change that I would make on the team sheet. But listen, just when you were mentioning there about, we obviously had an off night. John Souttar clearly had an off game at the weekend there. He just wasn't on it. And I've heard rumours that his brother might have died, and that's perhaps why, he quite wasn't.
So we don't know what happened with John. If there's an illness in the family, but he's undergoing medical checks. That's what we do know. So I think he'll be missing this coming weekend. Barry Ferguson, what about the goalkeeper? And there's Barry saying it should be Alan McGregor. I think Craig earlier on said the same.
Yeah, we're back to this debate about the goalkeepers again. I said at the start, when Alan McGregor signed a new contract, who would be your number one? It would be Alan McGregor. Now, that's no saying that John McLaughlin's not a very good goalkeeper. He's a goalkeeper I rate highly. But Alan McGregor, for me, is Rangers number one. But Gio's made a choice, and it looks to me of John McLaughlin as Rangers number one going forward.
I agree. I think that was always the issue we spoke about last year, that if Alan signed, it was probably beyond Gio's terms, where they probably sat down and had a conversation and said, listen, John's going to be my number one. you're going to be back up. Are you willing to work with that? If you're willing to work with that, great. Because when I looked at the cup final, I thought it was the passing of the torch. That's the way it looked to me. That's the way it looked. And if that was the case, great, because Griggsy goes up there with the Andy Gorhams, as I say, God rest him. That's who goes up there in my time. As the probably top goalkeepers that Rangers have had throughout their history, never mind any other time. So that's how their quality was. So it's an interesting one, but I think that's the only problem the manager's got now, because that's because of the error. I never seen the game. Obviously, had a slight deflection or whatever, and some people were saying no, it wasn't. The goalkeeper was a bit unfortunate, and probably a goalkeeper sitting here would probably say no, the goalkeeper couldn't have caught it or whatever, blah blah blah. But we hear all these things, but it's a problem that Gio is maybe could do without. He wants to keep him as his number one. Let that be. Now, for me, if I'm a Rangers fan, I'd say, right, the manager's made his decision. That's going to be the number one. Let's get the team performing. My interesting question would be, as all the boys that he's brought in, does he see them as starters? Does he see them as starters? And then I'd be asking then, well, how many of them started last evening? And I think then if he's bringing them in to be starters, because he spent a couple of shillings on them, when they're all fully fit and obviously starting in the team, then the Rangers team will look stronger. It obviously becomes a better side. And that's what we're all hoping, as I say, and hopefully it's going to be good enough that you get Morelos and that back next week and Kent back next week. So if they're obviously going to make Rangers stronger, and hopefully that's going to come in time that they can qualify for the European game, and that's what you're looking for, a big performance. Listen, we've all been there many, many times, and we know what it's like when you have bad performances at the start. Everything gets forgot about within, especially in Glasgow. Within 1 week, you can get all forgot what you done last year. And I know that's the way football is. So you've just got to accept, and you've got to trust the manager, because I thought he's done a hell of a lot of good things. And he works with the players every single day. Barry will tell you he's left players out, and people will maybe question, why'd you leave him out? Barry was working with them. He's seen them training. He knows what the qualities are. He knows who's at the level and who's ready to play. And then that's why he makes his decision. I'm sure that's what Gio did as well.
Barry, how much are you looking forward to seeing Morelos back, and hopefully for Tuesday?
Can't wait. I just hope that he's ready to come back and we don't rush him back because we feel that we need him back, sort of thing. And then he has some sort of relapse or something like that, So we need him back. Nobody can be an Alfredo Morelos. He's a different type of guy. He does everything, and he does it well. Sometimes you're watching him on TV and you're watching him on the pitch and you're thinking, he looks as if he's running slow. He looks as if he's doing things slowly, But it's just he's got his own strange style, and it just works. So I can't wait for him to get back. I think him and Cholak can work together as well, by the way. So, I think there's scope for maybe changing the system. I don't know, 3-5-2. When we changed the system last night, and I suppose we could have put it's like five defenders, but Yilmaz and Tav were right. So it was like kind of they went into the midfield, and there's scope for changing that system. And I think we can have two strikers going forward, and Cholak, they can hold the ball up and. He can play Morelos in. There's a bit of opportunity for that, I think.
Barry, could you see the return of the two strikers?
I think Gio's preferred formation is 4-3-3. He likes a 4-3. That's the Dutch way of playing. If you're chasing a game, there's always scope to put another forward in. But for me, the number one striker for Rangers, if he's fit, is Morelos. Now, Barry made a good point. He's just back off a serious tear in the thigh. He had to get operated on. Do you rush him back and take that risk? He's got to weigh all these things up. But listen, he's been training for the last couple of weeks with the team. He's been on the training field. So that tells me that he's no far away. The only thing he's going to be lacking is match fitness. And we all know you can train as hard as you want. Paul Peter will tell you can train twice a day, 3 times a day. You need games of football.
The intensity.
Yep. And that's the only thing that he'll be lacking.
And with tears, the biggest thing's fatigue, isn't it? Yep. When you've got fatigue, and if you're tired and you're on the pitch, that's a possibility of regenerating again, So you don't want that with players getting injured. But I agree with the system. I said that to you last year with the players he was bringing in. I think he's maybe looking at that 3. We know it's a Dutch trait, the 4-3-3, and he really likes that. He does it different for Steven Gerrard, and he's been able to jump. And I think he's done that fantastically well, and it's been very successful for Rangers, flipping in and out his 3 and his 4. And I think he's got that. But we bring in Davis, Suter, and Golston, and the way Yilmaz likes to bomb on, Tavernier obviously likes to bomb on, then it gives you that option with 2 strikers. You know, you've got the strength of two central midfield players, plus with two strikers behind it, and one of them's got to drop in a little bit deeper, which Barry says that Morelos likes to do. If he wants to drop into that 10 position, fine. You know, it still gives you that extra midfield player, which you can't be overrun over it in there. You know, so it still gives you that extra body in there to help out. You know, so you can get away with that, and I think that's something you will definitely be looking at.
Barry, what's your scoreline on Tuesday?
I think he's gave up already.
I'm thinking they'll score. I'm thinking they will score.
Do you? So 4-1 then?
Right, so I'm thinking 4-1. So they're going to score, so that leaves us with 4-1. I mean, that's really what I've got to go for.
Yeah. Thanks, Barry, and we wish John Souttar all the best. They're saying he's undergoing some medical treatment, but I know there are things saying there's a family situation. We just hope that he goes well. He's a
I think
great
Connor
player,
Golson, can I just say, I thought Connor Golson dealt with the media before the game on Tuesday really well in terms of John Souttar. He came in for a bit of criticism. He never had the best of domestic debuts, but believe me when I say this, I think in time John Souttar will be a very good Rangers player. I honestly believe that. And with the bit of criticism, and we spoke Monday night about it, he's mentally tough, John Souttar. He's come through some horrendous injuries. We all know Achilles injury is one of the worst you can get, and he's come through that, and he's come back, and he played really well with Hearts, and I think he's deserved the move to Rangers. Just a bit of patience with John Souttar, and I think he'll turn out a real good Rangers player.
I think people never said he played left side. When was the last time John Souttar played left side? And he's a good passer of the ball with his right foot, so you don't take his strength away. And that's playing on the right hand side. There's no doubt in me. I think he's a better passer than Golson, even though I think Golson's a good, decent user of the ball. But I think John's better.
Great point you both make, and all of you. Thanks, Barry, for that call. An unbelievable signing is what Connor Golson said about John Souttar.
The Go Radio Football Show with MacklinMotors.com, representing some of the biggest motoring manufacturers across Scotland. Let's go!
This time tomorrow night, the Go Radio Football Show will be with Kenny Miller, just back from being on last night at the Rangers game. And Aidan McGeady is going to join us, the former, currently with Hibs, but got an injury just last weekend, so he's out for 2 months. But Aidan McGeady will be joining us. You've had a few battles against him.
Yeah, kicked Aidan a right few times, but two money-faced gets together, him and Kenny.
Are they? Yeah,
they love them.
What a player, Peter.
Yeah, wonderful skills. But he worked really hard at his game as well. People always say he was a trickster, but Aidan was always one, when even the short period I was up with Tony, that he always stayed out after training. You know, so I was glad to see Arthur Boric never get his hands on him with him, because I think there's been a bit of a story going about Arthur Aidan and that in the dressing room and that, weren't they? And seemingly Arthur saying, "Well, let Aidan finish the story off," and all that. So you maybe get that out of him tomorrow night.
Characters in the game, that's what we need. That's what we've got with you two, Barry Ferguson and Peter Grant.
I'll tell you one thing, what a career he's had. Obviously fabulous. Celtic, then he went across to Russia and Everton,
Moscow,
been about at Sunderland as well, but he still looks fit as a fiddle. I watched Hibs because I was interested to watch Hibs. Obviously new manager, spent brought a lot of players in, should I say, and obviously one of them's Aidan. I'm just unsure. I was speaking about, I don't know how Hibs Hibs are going to do. In my eyes, Hibs are a big club,
for sure,
big club.
Yeah.
And losing obviously Aidan's a big one from David Marshall. I think that's a brilliant signing for him. Big Marshall still got it in goals, but it'll be interesting to see how they do this year.
Do you think Martin Boyle's on the way back? I know he could be.
Yeah, it would be a brilliant signing, but do you know what? One of the ones, I don't know why Rangers or Celtic don't even look at Martin Boyle.
Why? Well, I mean, we talked about it with Lyndon Dykes, remember?
I just think Martin Boyle, the thing that worried me about Martin Boyle in the early days was his end product. We all knew he had fantastic pace, but I thought at Hibs over the last couple of years he get better and better and better, and I was just surprised that obviously the money in Saudi Arabia was great for him, but also they paid big money for him. I think it was £3 million or something. But he's a match winner. He's what defenders hate, and that's pace. We were talking about Montondo earlier on. Use your pace. Martin Boyle certainly knows how to use his pace.
Peter, Hibs, arguably they should be doing what Hearts have been doing, coming third, and they play this weekend.
Absolutely, you know, because I've seen them twice this season live. I've seen them against Norwich when Aidan got injured, actually. You know, when you look at them, they're a team, and I know the manager probably made his mind up about Big Doige, the big centre forward. They're a much better team, I believe, when he plays. But it's amazing when managers make their mind up, think you're not going to be part of it. But every time I've seen them playing better, he's been involved. You know, because he's a handful. He puts himself in the middle of the goal. He's very good in the air, and it probably gives Hibs an outlet at this moment in time. because there is a big expectation on them, and they have to be in that fighting to try and be that third place. They have to be trying to do that. Aberdeen have to try and be doing that. Hearts have to be trying to do that, because that's where they are. Dundee United are having a go at doing that. And then you're getting back to, that's the way it used to be with all these teams, who used to be fighting for these positions, you know what I mean? And it's great to see, but they've all have to perform much better than they did last year.
Huge game this weekend, isn't it? Hibs against Hearts. It'll tell a lot, especially.
I think
it's
even second game into the season, I think it's a brilliant game to have as a player. You know what I mean? It's at Easter Road.
Have you ever been to one of the derbies there? Have you ever managed to see?
Yeah, but I used to go through and watch my brother when he was at Hearts.
Course,
and my dad used to go through to the old, it's Tynecastle, but the old Tynecastle. No, I've not been to one lately. But listen, I'll obviously watch it on TV, and the atmosphere always sounds electric when you watch the games. But that's a brilliant game. And listen, Hearts, for me, are stick on with the squad that Robbie's built again. He's made some real good signings. He's still in the market signing another 2 or 3 players. I think it's Hearts' third position to lose.
Aberdeen potentially, but so many changes there.
They need to do better than last year, let's be honest. Peter just mentioned there the 3 clubs. Dundee United done brilliant to get into Europe, but Hibs and Aberdeen bottom 6. Hibs and Aberdeen, for me, are European teams.
Well, that's what tells you the job that Malcolm Mackay had done at Ross County. And you watch the game on Saturday, they were brilliant in the first period, and hit the bar twice. I think they hit the post twice, and Hearts scored at fantastic times, but Ross County were the better side, and they went up and scored to make it 2-1, and they found themselves very unfortunate. I think Robbie says that after the game as well, but just watching the highlights, they've done tremendously well, and listening to the reports, that they said they played really well. So they've done fantastic. As you say, you're talking about Hearts, you're talking about Hibs, you're talking about Aberdeen. They have to be all challenging, and it's what that could be the deciding with the Celtic and the Rangers, because it was Celtic and Rangers games always look after themselves. They always have, they always will. It's what you do in the other games, going to Pittodrie, going to Tynecastle, going to Easter Road. That's what always decided the champions for me, because you had to win their games. And if they teams have got to be more than capable of taking points off them if they can, and last year I didn't think they were anywhere near that.
A few of the stories on the go today. Will James McCarthy play any part in the Celtic story this season, do you think, Peter? Didn't play much last season, but there's interest from clubs down south, probably in a loan, because he signed a long-term deal last summer.
Yeah, well, I said to you, he must be doing something right, because the manager had him on the bench all the time. He must have been fantastic round about the training ground, but the first time I go to the game on Sunday, and he wasn't on the bench. So maybe that's the time, maybe the manager thinks it's time to change that. I'm not sure, but as I said, I don't work with James every day, and I always think that's important, that the manager knows what's going on, or he knows what he's trying to bring in. And I think Ange says that there's hoping to maybe a few boys, whether that's Julian, whether it's young Mikey Johnson, whether it's James, maybe going out on loan to freshen up, to bring another 2 boys or 2 or 3 boys in. Maybe that's what he'll do.
Barry, he's still got something, hasn't he? You saw him in his early days at Hamilton.
Yeah, I played against him when he was 17 or 18, and you could tell back then that he was going to be a player. I still think he is a player. He just found it difficult at Celtic. He's only 31, James.
Yeah, absolutely.
Still got a lot of football left, and people going about his injuries. Well, he's well over that now. But I think he'll be looking at himself. I need to be playing at 31. And
we're talking about Sunderland, weren't they? Is that not his old manager, his old teammate? Alex, I'm not sure.
That'd be a good move with them back in the Championship.
They were talking about Sunderland for him, so I'm thinking the Championship was fantastic.
I think Alex Neil actually played with him.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think he's his teammate.
That's right. Yeah, so he was the player, then the manager.
Yeah, and there's no doubt his quality. There's absolutely no doubt. So that'd be a fantastic move for him with a massive club as well.
I think if James has been honest, he'll want to play. He'll not want to listen. I know he's a Celtic supporter. He would want to have played there many a times, but he'll probably be looking at it and thinking, no, I'm at an age where I want to play week in, week out.
Because when you hit 30, 31, you still hopefully get quite a number of years in your legs, but you don't know, and you must savour it.
Oh, 100%. I remember Wim Jansen, God rest him, came in, and Wim didn't know me if he had. I'd already made my decision I was leaving to go, and I'd already agreed to go to Wolves actually, but I ended up in Norwich I went to. And Wim had said to me to stay on and for the next couple of years and whatever, because I like you around about the place. And I was like, I could never have went in without playing.
Really?
At that time, I knew I played that first year, but the second year, the Celtic were having to go and get better and bring better players in than me. There was absolutely no doubt of that, and that's exactly what they did. But there's no way you could have been through that period of not playing if you're fit. And I ended up playing to 36, 37 down in England. But there's no way at 30, I think it was 31, 32 then. There's no way you could go on and think, well, I'm just going to see my career out. It just doesn't happen. And if you're a footballer, you want to continue playing as long as you possibly. And that's any advice I'd give to any youngster or any player: play as long as you possibly can.
Yeah, and he strikes me as a guy who would want to play.
Yeah,
I don't think he'd be happy to sit about. James McCarthy, he's I mean, another great career he's had. Played Premier League football most of his days.
Yep. Somebody who is having a great career is Kieran Tierney, as we all know, at Arsenal and Scotland. But he's been speaking about the mental health struggles that he had when he went down to London from Celtic, and about losing friends to suicide. Peter, you were speaking about it before the news. Barry, when you went south, away from home, what was it like? Is it quite isolating?
Yeah, a lonely place. It's great during the day because you're in the morning, you're training, you're seeing your teammates, you're having lunch. You'll go into Manchester or whatever, a bit of shopping, but you're back to yourself. You're eating your dinner yourself. You're in a room. I mean, I was in a hotel for I think 5 months.
It's a long time.
Yeah, it is a long time. Couldn't get into the house we wanted to get because it was still getting built at the time down in Lytham. So people think, I was speaking to Peter off air, because you're getting good money and whatever.
What are you complaining about?
It's tough at times, and I can see where Kieran Tierney's coming from. I read it. He's got the chef in staying with him, which keeps him company, keeps him on his toes. And you know, he's a Lanarkshire boy. He's a real family man, as Peter was when he was explaining the situation. So it is tough being away for the especially the kids.
It's good he's opening up
Margaret
about
it, isn't it? Don't you tell Margaret that?
It's good that he opens up about it, though, isn't it? And the more people talk about it, the better.
I found that in the last couple of years, more and more players are opening up about it, and it's a good thing. It is a real good thing, but it is hard. Being a football player. Listen, it's the best job ever. You're living your dream playing. But when you're away for your family and kids, that's tough to take.
You can't imagine how everyone listening to this programme and on it would love to have played, especially at the level that you two did. But we can talk about it every night, 5 till 7. You mentioned the chef with Kieran Tierney. What's for dinner tonight, Barry? Because he's on the way. I know.
My missus texts me and says, what you want for dinner? And I says, gnocchi. So I was eating that when I was on holiday. So that's my new meal.
Lorraine says mine's in the cat.
Peter, tonight you've been talking about Jota, and quite a lot of Celtic fans have been on. They want to see him play through the left, but down the left, nobody can tell Ange Postecoglou, can they? He knows how he will play.
Absolutely, and that's what I'm saying. The manager's never done anything wrong in the respect to that. And he was critical of Jota and certain things on Saturday, you know, a bit sloppy in his final ball or whatever. And obviously he's a Celtic player now, he's not a lone player. And the manager was just giving a wee nap across the knuckles, a wee rap, because he wants him to play for the team, because the team's the most important thing. But his quality and his individual quality, which he showed, you know, with his goal, you know, there's no doubt he's a top quality player. But as you say, the manager will make the final decision. He knows the reasons why he plays Maeda. He knows the reasons why he plays Kyoga. All these things, so nobody can argue with him. It's only when it goes wrong, like as we've had with the Rangers fans tonight, everything's wrong. But I think the manager's done a fantastic job at Rangers as well.
But he's got a huge 6 days coming up, Barry. We started tonight with
but that's what you have at a big club.
Absolutely.
When you have a bad night at the office, bad result, obviously you'll come in for a bit of criticism, which is natural in the west of Scotland. They need to make sure the next 2 games they're bang on it, and I believe Rangers have got the right manager. I think Gio is shown that he's a top manager. I look at his squad and there's still enough quality in that squad.
And the goalkeeper, you think he'll stay with John McLaughlin, but we'll find out, because quite everyone tonight calling in was saying they want Alan McGregor back in.
Yeah, but if you're asking my opinion, who would I have, or who do I think?
I know who you would have, because you said all along Alan McGregor.
I would have, and that's no slight on John McLaughlin, as we've said. I think John McLaughlin's a very good goalkeeper, but I do think John McLaughlin will continue to play in.
And look out, Ryan Kent will play probably at the weekend and then Tuesday, and Morelos is getting close to fitness. Peter, thanks so much. See you next week.
Pleasure, Paul.
Barry, we'll see you on Friday.
Paul.
This time tomorrow night, Kenny Miller and Aidan McGeady.
The Go Radio Football Show with MacklinMotors.com, representing some of the biggest motoring manufacturers across Scotland.
Let's go! Service your existing car with us right now,
and it's worth £500 off your next car.
Yes, at Macklin Motors Toyota, we'll give you a £500 voucher off any of our brand new Toyotas when you book in for a service with our expert Toyota trained technicians.
We even have complimentary courtesy cars available, so book your service now and get £500 off any new Toyota.
Visit macklinmotors.co.uk or see us at Kennishead Road, Darnley.
Macklin Motors, the new name for Toyota sales and servicing in Glasgow.
Valid on services till 30th September. Excludes Motability and fleet customers. One £500 voucher per vehicle purchased by 31st December.